Hello and welcome. Vincent Makori, and this is Africa 54. Tonight, after weeks of bickering, cross-party rhetoric, and high-stakes gamesmanship, the U.S. House and Senate passed a bill to end a 16-day partial government shutdown and extend the government's credit limit. And now the political drama pushed America to the brink of financial disaster. Joining us now from Capitol Hill with more on the averted crisis is Africa 54's Ndimyake Mwakalyelye. Hello, Ndimyake.
Well, hello, Vincent. Most U.S. federal workers are back at work today after President Barack Obama signed a bill into law ending a tense political stalemate and avoiding what could have been a potential U.S. debt default. VOA's Richard Green has that story for us.
The Republican-controlled House of Representatives passed a last-minute compromise late Wednesday night by a vote of 285 to 144. The vote came more than 2 weeks after a partial government shutdown went into effect when House Republicans refused to pass a spending bill unless it contained provisions to either defund or delay President Obama's health care law. Mr. Obama and congressional Democrats refused to negotiate any changes until the government reopened and its borrowing authority extended. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi said the Republican-led standoff caused unnecessary harm to the U.S. economy.
It has jeopardized our credit rating, slowed our GDP growth by 0.6%. It has eroded consumer and investor confidence in our economy while taking $24 billion out of our economy. My colleagues, do you think that your recklessness was worth $24 billion to our economy?
The bill was approved earlier Wednesday in the U.S. Senate by a vote of 81 to 18. Among those voting against it was Republican Senator Ted Cruz, who joined with conservative House Republicans in their efforts to scuttle the new health care law.
This is a terrible deal. This deal embodies everything about the Washington establishment that frustrates the American people. This deal kicks the can down the road. It allows yet more debt, more deficits, more spending, and it does absolutely nothing to provide relief for the millions of Americans who are hurting because of Obamacare.
After the Senate vote, the president urged both parties to end the practice of governing by crisis.
And my hope and expectation is everybody has learned that there's no reason why we can't work on the issues at hand, why we can't disagree between the parties while still being agreeable, and make sure that we're not inflicting harm on the American people when we do have disagreements.
The bill was a last-minute compromise reached earlier in the day by Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid and his Republican counterpart, Mitch McConnell. It funds the government until at least January 15th and allows the U.S. Treasury to borrow money until at least early February. During that time, lawmakers will negotiate on a long-term budget plan. If the debt ceiling had not been raised, the government would have run out of money to pay its debts, a situation which would have shaken confidence in the U.S. economy overseas. Richard Green, VOA News, Washington.
Now, the temporary shutdown affected approximately 800,000 federal workers across the country and many more who depended either directly on the government contracts or workers. So, needless to say, Vincent, there's a huge sigh of relief around the country that things, at least for now, appear to be back to normal.
But Ndimyake, the president actually spoke a while ago. He didn't look very excited. I mean, it was visibly upset.
Well, definitely President Obama was not very excited, to use your words, Vincent. In fact, he said that really there were no winners or losers in the outcome of this shutdown, and he has called on Congress not to let something like this happen again. He has committed to working with both Democrats and Republicans to make sure that, of course, that shutdown like this doesn't happen again. And then also he really wants Congress to work on things that really affect and what American people want to see happening, and that is issues like growing the economy, creating jobs, addressing the issue of immigration and the farm bill. getting the fiscal house back in order for the long term, and then most importantly, gaining back the trust of the American people, which he says has really been lost over this period.
Talk about growing the economy. Describe very briefly how the shutdown affected the local community in Washington, D.C.
Well, in a lot of ways, Vincent, you know, for a lot of people, they were really not certain whether or not that they'll be getting paid, and a lot of them just really, most of those who were furloughed at least, just realized recently they will be getting back pay for the time away, but then there are a lot more who will not be getting paid. And then also during the time of the shutdown, a lot was closed in many cities and many states around the country, including national parks. So also the economy took a little bit of a dent because most people were holding on to their money. Obviously, you know, most people were not getting their paychecks as regularly as they would otherwise. So there was a little bit of uncertainty, a lot of people very nervous about what's going ahead. And on the flip side, there were those who were very happy. They say that they managed to get a lot of chores done around the house. Yeah. But I think for the most part, many are happy that things are back to normal. People are back at work and the economy is functioning.
And well, things are back to work. How would you describe the mood on the streets now in Washington?
Very, very bustling, and it was such a noticeable change. This morning I took the metro into work, and yes, mostly I've gotten a free seat where I'm just by myself on a two-seater, but today it was all crowded up in the streets. Traffic was the usual backlog. So I think healthy signs that things are starting to generate a little bit of energy, which was really lacking over the past 2 weeks.
Well, back to normal.
Yeah.
The normal hectic life, but very welcome, nevertheless.
Very welcome for definitely everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ndemi.
My pleasure.
Africa 54's Ndimyake Mwakalyelye reporting live from the Capitol. Now, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com.